Hello again, friends, and welcome back to Carpo's channel, the Human Nature series, as I call this. Now, I haven't really put out one of these in a while, but I think human nature is an important part of being human, don't you? Let's think about that for a minute. I take life with a grain of salt these days. Once you've encountered enough reality to the point where you can't create a fantasy for yourself in the sense of deluding yourself into believing what others tell you is true, or where you come from, or where you're going. When you start to create your own reality, you realize there's so much strength in that. But at the same time, you don't really feel the need to impress that on others because you realize that everyone sees things in their own way. For example, the idea of God, or the idea of truth, or the idea of what it means to be a man, or to have a family, or how to protect your homeland. There are hundreds of different things that we all have different opinions on. And I think that the one thing that's always been lacking, and I think that it's the golden ticket to a civilized society and a utopia, is understanding one another. And I don't mean understanding in the sense that we have to agree with how other people feel. But we might find that we do agree with them once we get down to the bottom of what we really believe. A perfect example would be a discussion I had with someone earlier this morning, a family member, and we were talking about, I was saying something about Christians, and they mentioned how Christians were persecuted, and I said, well, Christians aren't necessarily persecuted, but within Christianity there's a persecutory feeling. It's just embedded within it. But I was saying that it was, in this particular instance, it was persecuting because of trying to push someone's beliefs into schools or on others. But they feel the exact opposite, that schools are trying to push evolution onto them and their children. And it's a difficult ticket, a difficult one to navigate. But when we started talking about it, she assumed I was an atheist, and I said, well, no, I'm not an atheist. I'm actually, I believe in an all-pervasive consciousness that permeates the universe. But I won't take it beyond that, but just that I don't believe in anybody else's version of what God might be. And she agreed on that. Now, the thing is, that could have taken a different direction by saying, of course I'm an atheist, and there's nothing out there and nothing matters. There's a certain part of us where we might have a different view of the world. Now, I'm not trying to use that as an example to where I need you to, semantics. You might say, oh, you're agnostic then if you believe in a higher consciousness. Hopefully you get the point that I'm trying to make, that it's deeper than the discussions that we have might not be as argumentative or as different in opinion as we think we are with other people. And I think that we've been feeding this flame of disagreement because people have been frustrated. Now, I know people might say, well, it's because of lockdown or COVID. COVID and the whole situation involving everything from lockdown to masks to vaccines has been actually nothing more than a kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will. These things have been going on for a long time. The poor have always been poor. The billionaires have always got rich. It just increases during a pandemic, but also gave people time to think. And a lot more people are waking up at the same time to being truly woke, if you want to use that term, to not things like, telling other people what they should or shouldn't say, or, banning people because they might have offended someone somehow. Whether you're blaming the left or the right or the up or the down doesn't really matter. We are all in this together because we all have to live together. It's one of those cornerstones for a society, for existence, is that we all have to live together. We all have to get along and be able to treat each other with some sort of a mutual respect, even if we disagree. And this means that it doesn't mean that we have to understand a person, or even we can still say you're wrong, you're full of shit. I have no problem saying what I believe and what I feel, or when I don't believe something that someone else believes. I am a skeptic. I try to be a stoic skeptic, if you will. That's where I'm going with my existence, my life. Stoicism in the sense of not just being rock and not letting anything bother me, but rather letting emotions flow through me, getting shit done the way I need to get it done, and not letting other people's opinion of me faze me. But the skeptic part of me is also very prominent. I don't believe what other people tell me is true. I don't believe that other men have figured out the truth in the past to such an extent that they could write it down in a book and say, this is the truth. There are many truths that have to be looked at through many different angles, and it's like the multifaceted jewel, right? And damn, is it crazy and hard to figure out what is real. But you start to realize some of it doesn't matter. Most of it doesn't matter. All these trivial things, for example, all the things that are going on in the media or what other people are telling you are important, those only serve to divide. When you get down to the bottom of what division really entails, and it's a willful ignorance to not want to understand the other side because it may conflict with what we want to believe. But more than that, because we're repeating talking points. I mean, how many times has the media come out with something that they, a slogan or something that all of a sudden is repeated across all the networks, but also on every regular person's Twitter feed or YouTube posts or anything? It's like this, a disease that permeates society. It's like a virus when a certain claim is made that may have no substance whatsoever. These are the things that divide us. And so the point being that we need to step back, stop believing what everyone else is telling us about each other, and try to understand one another. I got to look at how much time's left on here. I can't see the screen. No, it's really crucial. I'll look at it from back here. Okay. It's only 7 minutes. Good. I'm using my GoPro. It limits me to about 11 minutes before it cuts up the video. And honestly, I think that that's good because it really helps me condense my thoughts, we do agree on a lot of other things, like when talking about lockdown, for example, like my kids, I just picked up my son about a half an hour ago, and then I have to go pick up my other son at a different time at a different school in about 15 minutes from now. And it's a huge pain in the ass because they're only going 2 days a week. And at first they were doing remote learning, then they were doing, remote and home. Now they're just doing most of the days from home, but 2 days a week at school. And there's a disagreement between teachers at certain schools as well as the parents. And should we be paying the districts to run if they're not running, giving the kids their full, education? And I use that as it's a complicated situation because each school district is unique, every parent is unique, every situation is unique in the family, every kid is unique. Some like to learn from home, some like to learn elsewhere. But there's a certain amount of understanding that has to go in to organizing these things. And I do respect the wider part of society that makes things happen, is what I'm getting at. There is a lot more understanding than we give credit for. And even though we do disagree on a lot of things, those are the things that people often seek out. The reality is, most of the time, people cooperate very well as human beings. There's not a lot of, fights that happen in most neighborhoods. Some neighborhoods, fights break out every day between neighbors. But the point is that most places you try to be civil, even if you hate somebody that you have to deal with at work or elsewhere, you just deal with it. Because we are happier when we get along and cooperate, even if we completely disagree with someone's views. Even though I think that, an evangelical who's telling others what to do with their body and their lives and what to teach in school, I totally disagree with them. But I respect their right to say what they want to say, just like anyone else, until it starts to harm others. And that becomes a very complicated situation, I guess. So I guess that's about all I've got for now, and I'm going to do another video here in a while. But just wanted to say that, in human nature, I think understanding is something that we're severely lacking right now. But I also believe that it's just kind of a hiccup. The things like cancel culture have happened before, happened in the 60s, 50s, and 60s with Christian conservatives wanting to stop rock and roll music and stop, think about, remember book burnings, things like that. Cancel culture is nothing new. It's just a moment and a roadblock for us to look back on. But it's our lack of understanding each other. And we need to get over it. Toughen up. Be human. So thanks for watching. Thank you to my patrons. If you would like to support my channel, you can visit my Patreon. And there's extras and bonus links there that I post, and blogs. And also make sure, if you haven't, check out my podcast, 15-Minute Free Thinking, on all the platforms that you may check out. And be well. Peace out. I'll talk to you all next time. Be well.